There are moments in life that do not arrive suddenly, even though they feel like they do. They are formed quietly, over years of perseverance, reflection, and endurance. This is one of those moments. It stands not as a reward for perfection, but as a recognition of resilience. You have reached a point that could not have been rushed and could not have been forced. Every step, including the ones that felt like delays or detours, shaped your readiness for what is now unfolding. What once felt like waiting was actually becoming. What once felt like silence was growth happening beneath the surface. You stayed when it was hard. There were times when walking away would have been easier than staying, times when giving up would have felt like relief. Yet you remained. Not because you were fearless, but because something deeper than fear kept you moving forward. You carried hope even when it felt fragile. You chose patience when answers did not come quickly. You stayed present in your life instead of numbing yourself to disappointment. That choice mattered. Staying did not mean you never struggled. It meant you did not let struggle define the end of your story. The quiet work of becoming much of your growth happened in unseen places, in private moments, in long nights of reflection, in ordinary days where nothing dramatic seemed to change. These were not wasted moments. They were shaping your character, strengthening your discernment, and teaching you how to listen to your own inner compass. Growth often looks like stillness from the outside, but internally, it is a deep reordering of priorities, values, and self-understanding. You were becoming someone capable of carrying what you once only hoped for. When faith felt like persistence. Faith was not always loud or confident. Sometimes it looked like getting up again when you felt discouraged. Sometimes it looked like choosing kindness when resentment felt justified. Sometimes it was simply breathing through another difficult day without losing yourself. That kind of faith is not dramatic, but it is powerful. It is steady. It is rooted. It does not depend on constant reassurance. It grows through persistence, not certainty. The weight you carried. You carried responsibilities, expectations, and emotional weight that others never fully saw. You learned how to function while processing disappointment. You learned how to care for others while navigating your own uncertainty. You learned how to keep going without clarity. These experiences did not weaken you. They gave you depth. They taught you empathy. They expanded your capacity to understand others and yourself with compassion rather than judgment. The meaning, hidden in delay. Delays often feel like rejection, but they are not the same thing. Many pauses exist to protect you from stepping into situations before you are prepared to navigate them with wisdom. Timing matters, not because you are unworthy, but because readiness is layered. The waiting shaped your emotional stability, your discernment, and your resilience. What once felt withheld was actually being safeguarded until you could receive it without losing yourself in the process. Healing that took time. Some wounds do not heal quickly because they require understanding, not avoidance. You learned how to sit with discomfort instead of rushing past it. You learned how to forgive without denying the pain. You learned how to acknowledge loss without letting it define your identity. Healing did not erase your memories, but it softened their grip. What once hurt sharply now informs gently. The strength. You didn't notice. You may not have felt strong, but strength is not always loud. Often it looks like consistency, like choosing honesty, like remaining gentle in a harsh world, like continuing to care even when you felt tired. Strength grows quietly, revealing itself only when you look back and realize how much you endured without becoming hardened. When answers came, slowly. Not every question was answered immediately. Some answers came gradually, through experience rather than explanation. Some arrived only after you no longer needed them. You learned that clarity often comes after acceptance, not before it. Understanding followed surrender, not control. What you learned about trust. Trust deepened when you realized you could not manage everything on your own. You learned to release outcomes you could not control. You learned to focus on what you could influence, your integrity, your response, your effort. Trust became less about expecting certainty and more about believing that uncertainty does not equal abandonment. The shift within you. Something has changed, not because everything around you transformed overnight, but because you did. You now respond rather than react. You observe rather than panic. You move forward without needing constant validation. This inner shift matters more than external circumstances. It is evidence of growth that cannot be taken away, new space for possibility. With growth comes openness. Old patterns no longer fit. Old fears no longer hold the same authority. You have made space for new possibilities, not because you forced them, but because you outgrew what limited you. When space is created internally, opportunities naturally find their way in. Peace that doesn't depend on outcomes. Peace has begun to settle in places where anxiety once lived. Not because everything is resolved, but because you are no longer defined by unresolved things. You understand that peace is not the absence of challenge. It is the presence of perspective. This kind of peace stays even when circumstances shift. A different kind of confidence. Confidence now comes less from proving yourself and more from knowing yourself. You are less interested in approval and more committed to alignment. You know what drains you. You know what strengthens you. This awareness allows you to move forward with steadiness rather than urgency. Purpose, taking shape. Purpose is no longer a distant idea. It is becoming visible through how you show up, how you treat others, and how you steward your experiences. Purpose is not always a dramatic calling. Often it is the consistent choice to live with intention, honesty, and compassion. The value of what you endured. Nothing you endured was meaningless. Even the painful parts shaped insight, maturity, and empathy. These experiences did not disqualify you. They equipped you. They expanded your understanding of resilience and deepened your capacity to support others without judgment. Moving forward. Without fear. You are not stepping forward recklessly. You are moving with awareness. Fear may still whisper, but it no longer directs your choices. You have learned that fear loses power when it is acknowledged rather than obeyed. Gratitude without pride. There is room now for gratitude that does not turn into pride. You recognize your growth without diminishing others. You appreciate progress without forgetting humility. Gratitude grounds you. It keeps you present. It reminds you how far you have come, without disconnecting you from where you are going. A new chapter, not a perfect one. This is not the beginning of a flawless chapter, but it is the beginning of a more honest one. You are entering a season where you trust yourself more, resist less, and live with greater intention. That is enough. Growth continues, but you no longer doubt your capacity to meet it. Resting in what is now. You do not need to rush forward or constantly prepare for the next thing. There is value in resting within the present moment, acknowledging progress, and allowing life to unfold without pressure. Rest is not stagnation. It is integration. Carrying what matters forward. As you move ahead, You carry wisdom rather than wounds, clarity rather than confusion, and steadiness rather than fear. You are not who you were, and you do not need to return to that version of yourself. What lies ahead will meet a person who is more grounded, more aware, and more whole. Closing reflection. You have not walked in vain. Every step mattered. Every pause shaped you. Every struggle taught you something that ease never could. This moment is not an ending, but a continuation, one shaped by endurance, humility, and growth. Take it in gently. You are allowed to acknowledge how far you've come. You are allowed to move forward with hope.